5. The System. As we have seen, covet means both to desire and to take. We are forbidden unlawful desire and seizure of our neighbour's wife, his house, field, servants, his livestock, or anything that is our neighbour's. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 5, St. Paul calls such covetousness a form of idolatry. In evil covetousness, a man takes a lawless course and redefines it as a justifiable one. Men are ever prone to justify their every act. Justification is a necessary cover for man, and, as a result, men will work to justify the most flagrant offences. Abraham Roof, in describing the course of action which led him to the central position of power and corruption in San Francisco's politics at the beginning of the 20th century, justified his position by describing the foolishness of democracy. Roof graduated from the University of California and the University of California Law School with exceptional honours. His first political convention, he tells us in his Confessions, showed him that representative government was a farce. From an organizer of a club for civic reform, he immediately turned to being an errand boy for powerful and corrupt political bosses. The principle involved in such actions was well stated by someone in speaking to this writer some years ago. He vindicated political corruption, declaring, "When the people are larcenous, they deserve to be taken, and somebody will." We are not, however, justified in robbing a thief because he is a thief. The cure for public corruption is not more corruption. Roof's career illustrated well the operation of an ancient political structure, known as far back as the days of Abraham in Nutsi documents, which Hitchborn calls the system. The system is the organization of corruption and graft into a form of political order. Labour, business, and civil government unite to form a system of entrenched theft and covetousness which exploits the people. The system, however, rests on the fact of the already existing corruption of the people. Where the system exists, reform is much talked about, but never or rarely desired, because every man has a vested interest in loose law enforcement, in corruption, and in perpetuating evil. A group of wealthy men, headed by Rudolf Spreckels and James D. Phelan, instituted the investigation which led to a partial exposure of the system. The, quote, reform, end quote, demanded by many earlier became unpopular when its ramifications began to appear, and Spreckels and Phelan were the targets of hostility. Hostility to Phelan reached even Washington, D.C., to prevent him from receiving a cabinet appointment in the Wilson administration. Roof's morality had been wrong, but his judgment sound in this respect. The people did not want honest government. Every honest man is a threat to a thief, and a man of integrity is an offence to a liar, because honesty and integrity are a standing indictment to evildoers. The liar, the thief, the adulterer, and the covetous man refuse to change, and the best of incentives are not enough to reform them. An amusing episode in the life of the painter Bruegel illustrates this fact. Of Bruegel, we are told that as long as he lived in Antwerp, he kept house with a servant girl, He would have married her but for the fact that, having a marked distaste for the truth, she was in the habit of lying, a thing he greatly disliked. He made an agreement or contract with her to the effect that he would procure a stick and cut a notch in it for every lie she told, for which purpose he deliberately chose a fairly long one. Should the stick become covered in notches in the course of time, the marriage would be off, and there would be no further question of it. And indeed this came to pass after a short time. The sinner, instead of changing, seeks to remake the world in his own image. The result is coercion, covetousness. The covetous man strikes out at the honesty or happiness of others. Jesus characterized this attitude in these words: "Is thine eye evil because I am good?" Matthew chapter 20, verse 15. Moffat renders it, "Have you a grudge because I am generous?" It is the privilege of God the Creator to make and remake man and the world. Unto man, God gives the opportunity to share in that remaking by means of work and the law, the God-ordained means of establishing dominion and bringing all things into captivity to Christ. The wickedly covetous man steps outside this lawful path and seeks, by lawless means, to remake his life and world. Hence his assaults on his neighbour's property, home, and wife. Thus, the covetous man has his system too. He seeks a state of affairs whereby lawless means, the consequences of law, are obtained. He wants a society to further his lawlessness and yet to protect him in it. Just as the political, quote, system, end quote, is the organization of corruption and graft into a form of political order, so the personal, quote-unquote, system is a use of covetousness and lawlessness as the means to a new form of personal and social order. Instead of order, the result is moral anarchism and social collapse. The names for the society where men can covet everything that is their neighbour's may vary. Socialism, communism, a welfare economy, rugged individualism, fascism, and National Socialism are a few of the names common to history. Their goal is the same. Under a facade of morality, a system is created to seize what is properly our neighbour's. Not surprisingly, such a system shows a general decline in morality. Theft, murder, adultery, and false witness all increase because man is a unity. If he can legalize and, quote, justify, end quote, seizing his neighbour's wealth or property, he will then legalize and justify taking his neighbour's wife. The more self-righteous his profession of morality becomes, the wider the gap between profession and performance grows. Thus, the 20th century has seen a widespread advocacy of reverence for life, the abolition of the death penalty, and a proliferation of peace movements. At the same time, it has also seen these same leaders create a world of massive pollution and destruction of life. More murders than before, savage world wars and national wars, prison camps, massive torture, enslavement, and murder. And all this while professing the noblest morality. Add to this the movements legalizing abortion. Congressman John G. Smits reported, "Here in Congress, legislation has been introduced in both House and Senate to allow the killing of unborn children throughout the United States and to remove the federal personal income tax for all children after the second. Testimony before the House Committee on Interstate and Foreign Commerce revealed a bill is pending in the Florida state legislature which would legalize the killing of old people, quote, euthanasia, end quote, and that a bill in the Hawaii state legislature would compel the sterilization of all women after they have their second child. Such legislation heralds the coming of a new Nazism to our land. In the words of St. Paul, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Romans chapter 1, verse 22. Professing themselves to be lovers of life and mankind, they revealed themselves as haters and murderers of men.